society. That has not changed. So a family is defined as a group of two or more persons related by birth, by marriage, or adoption, and these people live together. According to the US Census Bureau, it also adds something called a household. Even Kenya, when we have these surveys, and you ask people in your household, people we live with, but they may not be related to us. So as we are looking at a family, I'm here to confirm that the family is a unit that was designed by God for the glory of God and for our benefit. So it is a good thing that God has placed us in our respective family. I start by looking at what is God's plan. Already we have read a piece. As God created the world, we are aware from the book of Genesis, reading through Genesis 1 and 2, that God created man. The first man was Adam, in his own likeness and in his own image. So male and female, he created them. It's still from the book of Genesis, because once God had made man, and that is Adam, he himself declared that it is not good for man to be alone. Why am I taking us to things? I'm thinking we all understand, we all know the family, we all know about Adam. Why? Because as we look at our role intergenerationally in the family, you realize you're coming in, there were people who were your forefathers who were there before you, and there are people who will come, those are your descendants, who will come way after you. So family, as ordained by God, starts with marriage. From the book of Mark 10 and verse 6 to 8, it has reminded us, and in this context, Jesus was discussing with the Pharisees, and they were discussing issues on divorce. And he just reminded them it was at the beginning of creation that God made them male and female. And for this reason, that's why a man will leave his father and mother and be united with his wife. It also goes further and relates us that all families start with marriage, ideally in God's blueprint. Because we are talking about the family as God intended. When we were building this church, this sanctuary, I'm sure the architect had a plan, there was a blueprint, there was which will go to which place. So even family is not accidental. It didn't just happen. It is ordained by God and of God and for the glory of God. It also talks about the interdependence of both man and woman. And in the beginning, when God made man, and he made Eve, or woman, out of the rib of a man, it is a symbol of interdependence. He did not go and create a woman from any other thing, and he could actually have created a woman, but because he wanted interdependence in the family connection, he created a woman out of the rib of the man. We are also aware, or as we look at the blueprint of the family, that the roles that we find ourselves playing in the family were ordained by God. What is a role? For those in employment, if you get a job as an accountant, that's the title, or that is the role. So what function does a husband do in a marriage? And in looking at the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 13, which we may not necessarily have to read, I can just emphasize that. But I want you to realize that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. So can you see the order? That we have God, who is the head of Christ, who is the head of every man, who is the head of the woman. And why we are looking at this order is to look at the role of the husband, or of the man as the head, or giving leadership in the family. It also goes further to look at the role of the wife, because when the wife, or when Eve was created from the rib, she was given a responsibility or a task to be submissive. And I'm talking to a modern day woman who may consider submissive as something not very good to do. But remember, in the book of Colossians, wives, Colossians 3 verse 18 to 21, wives, submit yourselves to your husband as is fitting to the Lord. Remember the order of headship of the man. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. And we'll go ahead and read the rest as we reflect. When we play our roles as God designed them, there is joy in the family, there is harmony, because we are working according to already predetermined order of the family as God intended. God Father did not stop at just creating man and also giving him a wife. He also gave blessings. But remember, a marriage is already complete when you have a husband and a wife. So children now are a blessing. So additional blessings that God has given to us as family is that God gave children, in a psalmist reminds us that children are a heritage from the Lord. They are not a burden, they are not a liability, they are a heritage. And I know, because I have prayed severally with people who have waited upon the Lord for the gift of a child, how disturbing it can be for any family that is waiting upon God to open their womb. And in the fullness of time, when children are given, the joy you find in any family when we receive that blessing, it completes the family unit. Besides the roles in the structure of the family, God also assigned tasks, which we call responsibilities. So when we are getting into marriage, or